So Adam, thank you so much for being a part of our Community of Practice page here on YouTube. And on behalf of Setsu, we want to thank you so much for your leadership today.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. So my name is Adam Camenzuli, and originally from rural Ontario, but I've been here on the continent for about 10 or 15 years. I grew up on a farm, and now I do farming a little bit in Malawi. I went to the Schulich School of Business, where I specialized in international business. And after that, I went to Tanzania, where I worked for a Canadian charity called Street Kids International. I went back to Canada, and then I went to do banking, and I worked on my CFA designation in finance. I quit my job in banking, and I moved back to Tanzania to start a solar company that my brother and myself we ran with a couple of friends for a few years. We were able to raise a bunch of social impact money. We won the Seed Award, and we got a patent for our product, and we were able to distribute our solar hockey pucks across Tanzania, and we reached about 20,000 people with our products. So I was quite young then, and that was the first foray into social impact really for me. I since went back to Canada. I did some young diplomatic work. I was the head of the delegation for the Young Diplomats of Canada to the OECD Forum in France. And I then went to various G20 Young Entrepreneur Summits in China, Japan, Germany. And yeah, really involved in the Canadian community abroad. And now I'm based in East Africa, and I do a couple different things. I have a Canadian company called Calheim Financial, and we do financial advisory and modeling and fractional CFO services for companies, primarily here on the continent. And then I also do some farming in Malawi. And also, we have a social impact housing company in Malawi as well that we are working on getting off the ground.
Wow, amazing. Congrats on all those accolades. Very, very inspiring. So
Oh,
if
thank you.
you can, oh, no problem. So if you can articulate your personal mission and vision and what inspires you about the work that you do.
So, I think we live in a really interesting time where we can have a lot of impact, and not in that cheesy regular way people say impact, but like really doing good stuff and seeing it in the really tangible aspect of changing people's lives. And for me, it's so much fun. So it's such a blessing to be able to help out people in various ways here. I'm not I'm much more focused on the social impact angle and social enterprise, and less so really about the pure charitable aspects. And I think that's changing right now across the world. So I'm super excited about how business can do good, and we see it already, across Malawi and the impact that we can have. So even by paying your taxes, by paying payroll tax, by doing health insurance, by supporting employees, you can do quite a lot of good. And it's nice. It's nice to be really close to the impact. And so that really inspires me, and also my family. I look at all the sacrifices that my grandparents, parents, and all of those folks made over the years to allow me to get where I am today. And so that's really, I think, a big part of what's driving me today.
Exactly. It's really about that, the impact in community when you can actually see it, like, the outcomes of all, the blood, sweat, and tears that we're doing. That's awesome. So on the other side, what challenges or barriers have you faced in your work and how were you able to overcome them or in the process of overcoming them?
So the big issue we had with our solar company, which was named Caribou Solar Power, and caribou means welcome in Swahili, and also it's a wonderful Canadian animal. And what we faced was it was very difficult to raise the money that we needed to manufacture our solar lanterns. And so we spent a lot of time pitching to investors, organizations, and finally we were able to raise about $250,000 in funding to basically undergo the research and development, securing the patent, the legals, opening up an entity in Tanzania, all that kind of stuff, and distribution and sales, employees, whatever. And to raise that initial capital to do that was very difficult. And so that's the common barrier that I've seen for a lot of African startups and businesses is how do you secure capital and how do you deploy capital in a profitable way, and then ensure that you're able to grow and scale and be cash flow positive eventually. So the issue that we've seen and that I currently see as Calhoun Financial is assisting companies with a lot of those back end, deep rooted financial processes so that they can succeed and they can spend more time doing their impact, and making real stuff. So I remember with my brother, he's an engineer, he made our solar lantern. And I remember, he'd be doing his modeling work and plastic and engineering and circuit board stuff. And he's like, I'm doing all this work, I'm making this product and, all these late nights doing this stuff. He's like, Adam, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is it? And I had to explain, like, it's really about, I'm doing the financial modeling, I'm doing the investments, I'm doing the corporate structuring, I'm paying taxes, I'm hiring people, I'm doing sales, I'm doing operations, I'm doing after sales service, I'm looking at the timelines and everything like that. So there's really the important stuff of the business is what the real entrepreneur should be doing. So we're really trying to do all the other stuff so that the entrepreneurs and the founders can do what they do best, which is create value and drive impact. So the big challenge and the barrier has been access to finance. And what we're really excited about is how do we structure things in such a way that's win-win for the investor, but also for the entrepreneur? And how do you ensure that they're able to keep adding value and doing what they're best at, and then leave the rest to us?
That's awesome. That's such a cool balance. And it's good to see that you are on both spectrums of business. You're looking for funding and now you're providing it and you know how to source it. So that's so amazing. It reminds me of those two twin Canadian real estate brothers. One was the construction and one did try to find the buyers and the sellers. So it's a nice balance. That's that's nice.
Cool.
Awesome. So, do you have any key priorities that you'd like to amplify at this time?
Yeah, so I think the big thing we're looking at is scale. So we've been able to prove our model and be effective at what we're doing. So I think the key is we ourselves are looking to grow and get some growth capital so that we can expand our impact. So that's the big set of priorities. We're also looking at getting into tourism in Malawi as well. And that would be around how do we develop really high quality but affordable experiences for folks that want to get into Malawi and experience all that Malawi has to offer. So the opportunities I think in that country are very exciting. It's often overlooked. There are many challenges, but I think the fundamentals are there. And I think it's got the potential to be, one of the next big tourist destinations across Africa. So that's the big priority. It's how do we get growth capital and how do we scale our existing work?
Exactly. Amazing. So let me ask you, how do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada and, globally? We are global, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're at an inflection point right now, to be frank. I think there's a lot that's changing across the globe. The role of geopolitical influence is, I think, being turned on its head. You see what's happening across various development agencies. And now, I think more than ever, the funders, whether it's you know, a private equity fund, venture capital, whether it's a philanthropic board that is providing funding for various things, they need the quantitative impact. And then you, as a sponsor or an operator for the project, need to demonstrate quantitatively exactly what is going to happen from that money. So for example, I think a few years ago, you could probably get by getting $1 million and then doing whatever project that you wanted to do with whatever impact. And yes, there are quantitative aspects to your impact. For example, number of beneficiaries, number of people served, you know, the broader scope of the project or the business. But I think now for the next 5 to 10 years, you will need to demonstrate to the dollar or the shilling or the kwacha exactly how much you are going to do, how much good you're going to do, how many people, and to account for all that money that has gone into the project. So I think that's the future of social impact. It is quantitative, it is data-driven, and it's really about how do you prove both that you are making that impact, but also how do you ensure that all the money is being spent in the right way.
Yeah, definitely data driven. Data is the new gold at this point right now, you know. But that's the era we're in. We're in that era of accountability. And I think the new generations that are coming and are here and are coming, they are pushing that energy, you know, where it's now, now, now. What's going on now? How can we get it now? Do it now, you know? So, which is good. There was a lot of lag in the past. There was a lot of covering up, you know, sweeping under the rug type of mentality, but those days seem to be over, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what's your ultimate goal, if you were to summarize, and what does success look like to you?
Yeah, great question. And I think that's being reevaluated all the time, right? Like what is success and what is the end game? What's the end goal? And I think really it's getting to a place where we can do a lot of good, but also we can make money. And I think that's been the downfall of a lot of these ideas and projects is that they're not ultimately sustainable. So you're seeing now, right? That whole system is breaking and eroding because of external factors. So Dr. Dambisa Moyo, one of my, you know, heroes when it comes to the academic angle of development, called this 15, 20 years ago in her book, Dead Aid. And she said, you know, just imagine, I know it's crazy, but just think about it. What would happen if we shut off all aid? What would happen? What would the outcome be? And it was a crazy thing to think about back then. But her argument was that a lot of these countries would, in fact, figure it out and they would be able to develop policies, build infrastructure, and really grow in a very profitable, data-driven way as economies. And so I think now that experiment now we're at the time where that's being tested. And so I think that's the ultimate goal. So how do we really look at like, what's the long-term play? And I'm really excited about the future of Canada's involvement here on the continent. It's typically been very slow, it's been very bureaucratic, and it's been very ineffectual, you know, and it's either mining or it's charity, and there's really no in between for social enterprise. And of course, Canada recently announced the new strategy for, you know, for Africa. And what does that mean for us, Canadians doing business and working here on the ground? And I think it's a bit short of what it could be. We need a lot more. And geopolitically, the continent is probably, obviously I'm very biased, but probably the most important place where we're going to see development, growth, and the future of power for the next 100 years. And so Canada needs a seat at the table, and Canada needs to be an important player here. Canada has an opportunity to be that player given the existing vacuum that's coming about in the geopolitical world for the continent. So the ultimate goal is really, how do we do sustainable business? How do we do good and make impact? And how do we tie those objectives together?
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. Wow, Adam, this has been very inspirational. I love the intertwining of, international and local, Africa with, Canada. That's all me. I get slap some Caribbean in there, my Jamaican background, but it is a beautiful thing. And this is just now, it's like I feel that, and a lot of people say it too, a lot of fancy words are being pushed around: social impact, social economy, but we've been doing this for centuries. This is nothing new. So they say nothing is new under the sun. So it's just packaged different. So I'm
Mhm.
glad to see that we have now 180 coming back on how we had, community-based income, community-based projects happening for the greater good of, of community and future, and, making sure everybody is has the basic necessities. This is where things are going. It's not an easy road, and it might not even be in our lifetime. We will see the level that it needs to be, but we are laying a foundation. And very,
Absolutely.
very, yeah, very, very happy for that. So, Adam, we thank you so much. So, if you can give us your closing thoughts and your calls to actions at this time.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm just super appreciative for you taking the time. And the call to action, I think, is for people to think about the continent as a trading partner and a source for investment. And how do we do profitable and mutually beneficial partnerships? So the big thing is this is the place of the future. And how does Canada play a more active role in assisting with the growth of the African story and the African century?
Exactly. Awesome. So we will definitely, of course, be collabing because, collaboration really is the key to social change. And we have a lot of things in common. I know Victor's been speaking to you. We have a People's Social Forum coming up. I believe it's the end of the year, December. We have our Solidarity Working Group. So it's all about collaboration and like-minded individuals like ourselves that are making an impact. So again, I thank you, and we will close the way that we began, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So, Adam, thanks again, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Great. Thank you.
All right, you take care.